Y'all, I just come out the Dollar Tree. It was finally open. They didn't have the water I needed. They didn't even have a 6-pack of water. First of all, if I don't get some hair oil soon, I might just morph into a damn poodle. My hair is out of control, and ever since I don't have the oils, I don't know what to do with it because it's just unruly. Like, I can't even get my fingers through it. And I didn't even, like, put makeup on because I've been so busy. Hello, hello. My hair. Y'all, this one is not going to be for children. I mean, or any of them. Let me fix myself for a second. I just got out of the shower. I washed my hair. It looked so good. I shouldn't have washed it. I debated it. I said, should I wash it or should I not wash it? Because it looked good, dirty, better than it does clean. Y'all saw it this morning. It looked decent. I done turned into a Shih Tzu. Alright, let me show you what I got the Dollar Tree before we get started on this weirdo. And it is not really his fault that he's a weirdo. Can I just say, the guy that we're about to talk about, it's not really his fault. It's his parents' fault. I can't do it. I know that it's going to leave marks in my hair because it's wet, but my bangs and everything else are getting on my nerves, so I got to get it out of my face. I had tacos. I found some tilapia for $3. You can get a piece of tilapia at Publix for $3. Who would have thunk it? And it was delicious, y'all. I'm telling you, I've never cooked tilapia before, so I didn't know how it was going to come out. And I was like, God, if it tastes like fish, I'm going to have to throw it to the birds because I can't do anything that's fishy. And sure enough, it wasn't. First of all, I found this rib rack spicy rub. It is not spicy. It is delicious. It's got hints of sugar in it, so it's a little sweet. And it don't even have sugar in it. But how is it sweet then? I guess maybe from the lemon. It's got salt, garlic powder, spices, onion powder, rice hull, and paprika. It's not that spicy. I covered it. You'll see it in my video. I posted a video of what I cooked. I covered it, and it was delicious. It was on rollback for $2. I said, let me get this. That's a $5 meal. Well, and I made like a cucumber salsa and I had a lemon. So I put the dry rub on the tilapia, and then I put lemon juice, and then I threw it in a pan with some oil, fried it up, and I cut up my cucumber, put a little bit of lemon juice and tahini on that, and made like a salsa to go on top of the tacos, and it was delicious. It was seriously like 8.5 out of 10, 8 out of 10. It was delicious. I'll definitely do that again, especially when I have tacos. Maybe next time I'll top it with like avocado or something. The fish was very filling. It was mainly fish that I ate, which I like. But I got me one of my coconut waters with my coconut pieces. I love these. This is 90% coconut water. You're not going to... Anywhere else, this is going to be $5 because of the purity of the coconut, how much coconut water is actually in it. I got a bag for free. Those ladies in the Dollar Tree was so nice, by the way. Yeah, oh my God, I got to tell y'all. So I'm coming out the park, right? And there is a classroom of children that are hiking through the park with their teachers. And I stop about, 100 yards back, letting the class cross the road. And these little kids are maybe 4, 5, 6. They were tiny, y'all. They all had little walking sticks and little hiking boots on with book bags. Like, they look like little explorers, right? So the teacher kind of threw her hand up to thank me for stopping, and I threw my hand back up. Well, tell me why all the kids started waving at me, and it was so cute. I said, oh my God, I'm going to die right here. I'm going to die from adorableness. Like, seriously, it was the cutest thing. All the little kids are waving. I said, oh my God, is that not the most precious thing? You know, kids are just so sweet. They're so innocent. I'm going to try these. It's from the same brand as the Fisher Price ones. Y'all know these are my favorite. You get 72 in a pack. They usually last me about, almost 2 weeks, a week and a half to 2 weeks, depending on if I'm cooking, if I'm using them to take my makeup off, if I'm wiping up the car. I use these literally for everything from wiping my bum to wiping my face to cleaning my rims. So they're wonderful, and you get 72 for $1.25. This is aloe vera and chamomile. I don't smell nothing. Maybe my schnauzer is broken. I don't know. I don't smell nothing. Let me show you some new stuff that I got. I've got an idea. First of all, they didn't have the water that I needed, but it's okay. I grabbed 2 of these big ones to use for cooking, because if I get another one of those Deer Park things, those things were like, I don't remember. It was like $4 or $6, and there's not a Walmart near me. So I don't want to spend $10 in gas going to Walmart when I can get cooking water for $1.25. So I got 2 of those. Also, I found this. Listen, first of all, Brooke is not a processed girl. I don't like processed foods at all. I prefer healthier things, but this is supposed to be hash browns. Your girl loves some hash browns. It says for the entire container served, it's only about 5 servings per container. Jeez. Well, that, I guess I'm in a bulk, so if I made all, I guess they swell up. It says to add water and a teaspoon of oil in a skillet. Open the carton and add hot water to the fill line. Let stand for 12 minutes. Then open the carton and drain any excess liquid. Preheat a tablespoon and a half of oil in a skillet on high heat, medium to high heat, and then spread the hash browns around evenly. And they're supposed to fry like the Waffle House hash browns. Now listen, your girl's going to be throwing some onions, maybe some pickled jalapenos or something, whatever I have on hand. They had jars of pickled jalapenos. I should have grabbed some, but I'm really trying to save some money. So anyways, and if you want softer hash browns, you can let them seep. So you let they're dried. They're dried Idaho potatoes with salt, and it does have a preservative. I don't know if that's bad for you. Oh my God, you guys. Last night, I was about to die. Do you know what that was? That was indigestion, honey. I had gas. Listen, y'all know that piece of ginger root that I bought that I didn't know what to do with? That was like $3, and I was upset that I bought that. I read online that you could take bites of ginger whole off the root and chew it up, and it'll make your stomach pain go away. Tell me why I did it and it worked. Within not even 5 minutes after I swallowed it. From the moment that I started chewing, my indigestion, like when I got in the bed last night, y'all, it was bad. I was doubled over in pain. My left side was killing me. I could feel my stomach palpitating, or whatever it's called. And then I could feel bile coming up my esophagus. It was absolutely a bad case of indigestion, gastrointestinal gas, honey. Okay, I'm sorry. TMI. I have never felt like pain like that from gas in my life. I ate beans yesterday and onions. It just so happens that that is a deadly combination, actually. It's one of the worst things for gas. If you already have gastrointestinal issues, you gonna swell up like a baked bean yourself, okay? You gonna feel like you was in the crock pot for 24 hours, honey. I felt like I needed to go to the ER. I even looked up in urgent care, but you know, a girl ain't got no insurance, so I said, well, damn, I can't do that. No money, no insurance. You just about to die from gas. So ginger, you can actually, they said to strip it. I didn't strip it. I just bit chunks of it off and chewed it up. And as soon as it was in my mouth, I guess because it's so strong and potent, it was making my mouth water, and I was swallowing, and immediately I noticed my heartburn start to go away, and I said, oh, let me eat. And then I started eating big old chunks of it, and within minutes, my gas pain went away. Is that not crazy? I will swear by it till I die. I will swear by it. And you know, the crazy thing is natural remedies actually used to be very productive before Big Farm took over. I told you guys that there's ginger chews from the Dollar Tree that I really like, and I meant to grab a bag of those. It comes like maybe 12 or 20 of them in a bag, All it is cane sugar melted down with ginger, and they help my heartburn. I usually keep those because of heartburn, but it really amazed me at eating the root that it took all of my pain away. So, this reminds me of an Ipsy razor. They did not have my Bic razors. The razors that I have are giving me razor burn, which means that I need a new razor. So, if you're getting razor burn, that's what it means. Well, also, you could be shaving the wrong way. But, I'm going to try this. I typically like a 2-blade razor from Bic. This was $1.25. It comes with 3 heads. So, it might last a month if it's even worth the darn. I do like that it's interchangeable for $1.25 because Ipsy sells this on a monthly subscription for like $20, which is crazy. I also got some more teeth flosses because I'm out of those. These are for kids, but I actually like them because they fit my teeth. I got a guacamole. And actually, I don't use this all at once. I actually use a few tablespoons at a time in different things. And sometimes I'll even season vegetables with it before I cook them. 2 bags of the Sunshine Trail Mix, which is banana chips, cranberries, almonds, cashews, and blueberries. Now, this does have quite a bit of sugar, but let me tell you something. If you are on a low sugar diet, you're not eating any other sugar, and this is your sugar, you'll be fine, honey. I lost weight eating this one summer, like last summer. I lost, 70, 80 pounds in like less than a year, and I was living on trail mix and peanuts and high fiber type of stuff like this because this has a lot of omegas, but it does have sugar, and it's going to come from the banana chips. They're sugared. They sugar them. I wish that they didn't, but it's okay. They're delicious. Oh, and she even hooked me up with 3 bags. I love you. She's awesome. So the 2 waters, and that was it. That was all I got. So I actually love these pasta salads. They have another one that have like the ringles. The ringle, y'all know what I mean. I don't know what they're called. Is it tortellini? No. Anyways, they have another one that's the Italian version. This is the ranch, this is the ranch and bacon. But what I was thinking, I've got those peas, I've got corn, I've got all kinds of stuff that I could throw in here to add some vegetables. And matter of fact, what I might do is add more peas because it already has peas in it. Also add like a cucumber or a tomato and make it more of a pasta salad and add some, and it comes with bacon bits, so even better. And it says it's 2 servings, but this little box is enough for a girl dinner. You know what I mean? So I ate the cucumber for lunch. I got a pear. See, I'm a weirdo. I will throw some fruit up in here, some apples. Like, I'm a weirdo. I don't know what it is, but I love sweet and savory. Like, I love some fruit in a salad or in a pasta salad fruit. Today, I was going to put that pear and cucumber together until I got that cucumber cut up, and I realized it was so much cucumber that I didn't need the pear, so I have the pear down here. That pear was 89 cents. It's crazy. Anyways, that's what I got at the store. Water for cooking. And put this stuff up. Yeah, so I wanted to talk a little bit about the benefits of ginger. It's actually an anti-inflammatory. That's part of the reason that it helped my stomach last night, is when you are going through gas. I mean, it's gas passing through your intestines, but when you're dealing with like acid reflux, ulcers, gastrointestinal issues, maybe IBM or ISB, or y'all know, irritable bowel syndrome. I don't remember what the darn letters are. When you're dealing with that, your body is actually inflamed on the inside, and that's why ginger is so productive and helpful to the inside of your body. Now, I read that you can order like a ginger tea, and that it's really good drunk cold. Like, you can make it pre-hand, and I might try that one day when I get a house, because I suffer from the worst heartburn all the time. But maybe if I'd lay off the damn tahine and chamoy, it wouldn't be that bad, right? There I am. I wanted to tell you some more, and I was looking for that piece of ginger to show you how I ate half of the damn stick. And then I start reading that don't eat too much. And I'm like, hell, have I done ate too much? Y'all, I'm a mess. I'm telling you. I'm like, God, how much did I eat? And then I start thinking about it and I'm like, oh, I only had maybe like a tablespoon. I took like 3 or 4 small chunks, tiny chunks, because that stuff it's a spice, you know? It'll set your mouth on fire. I mean, it actually, after the first chunk, my body got used to it, and I was just eating chunk after chunk, and it was probably about a tablespoon that I ate, and it's really good to turn it into pulp in your mouth and then swallow it with a little bit of water. It'll activate it in your stomach. It'll get down in those upper intestines to the lower intestines, and it'll keep your intestines from being inflamed, and it'll also help with gas and any kind of stomach issues and acid reflux. I mean, within minutes, as soon as I put it in my mouth, started passing it around, I put it under my tongue, and maybe a minute later, I noticed that my heartburn, I could feel my esophagus. I could feel that burn go away. I said, let me swallow this. I swallowed it, and it wasn't 5 minutes later, my intestines stopped hurting. I said, whoa, what do they give us for that? Imodium? Pepto-Bismol? Tums that half-ass doesn't work? But here's ginger over here. Here's me over here eating roots, and my problem went away. Interesting. So ginger contains many compounds with anti-inflammatory properties, including ginger oil, zingerone, and peridol, y'all. And it's actually good for pain relief. And that's another, I read a study that said people who consume ginger on a daily basis have less issues with joints and overall body pain. It can actually help de-inflame the body. Is that a word? You know what I mean. Blood sugar, it can actually help in help regulate blood sugars. And it can control insulin production in people with type 2 diabetes. Now, once again, you can get anything from ginger chews to ginger powder to add to dishes. I personally love those ginger chews from the Dollar Tree. You can find them at the Dollar General too. Delicious. It's almost like a taffy. It's delicious. It's also good for your immune system. It's a great source of vitamins and minerals that can help strengthen the immune system. Ginger contains over 400 natural compounds, and some of these are anti-inflammatories. It was so crazy the way it just helped me. It can be great for arthritis. Oh, that's another thing. If you're pregnant, you shouldn't be consuming this. So if you're a pregnant woman dealing with, you need to talk to your doctor before you start eating ginger root like a cave woman. Consult with your doctor before you start eating ginger root like a cave woman, please. But if you're suffering from nausea, gas, indigestion, it's wonderful for that, ginger tea. I'm trying to get this study up, but y'all know this Wi-Fi be slow this time of day. So the ginger root comes from a flowering plant that originated in Southeast Asia. That's why you see it in a lot of those dishes. It adds flavor to sweet and savory dishes and has a range of health benefits. And it's got its scientific name, and if my teacher from horticulture was here, she'd be so mad that I can't say it. We had to learn Latin names when I was in school, and my teacher did not play that, y'all. She made us learn the Latin name for plants. It was intense. She was a good teacher, though. She was a prison teacher. She was awesome. She came into the prison system and run the horticulture school classes through the college for prisoners. It was a great program. So you can use ginger fresh, dried, powdered as an oil or a juice. Something that I would recommend, though, is to stay away from supplements. I was reading online that, unfortunately, they don't really have a way to range these supplements, so you don't necessarily know what you're getting when you take a pill, as opposed to eating it, drinking it. Yeah, I would stay away from the supplements of ginger. You can get it in like capsules. I did not read anything good about the supplements. If you're gonna do ginger, I would do it the natural way. And yeah. It's great for, that was another thing, nausea. If you're suffering from nausea, you can chew on a piece of ginger, just the root, and swallow it. It's supposed to help with nausea. That's another thing. I had nausea when I laid down, and it just like went away. That was so bad. I'm never eating beans like that again. I read online, it said, it was like a list of the worst things to eat for gas, and beans and onions were on there, and I ate a whole cup of beans and a whole onion together. I thought I was gonna die, y'all. So ginger can be used to aid in digestion, reduce nausea, help fight the flu and the common cold. It can also help morning sickness, chemotherapy-related nausea, and it can help with weight loss. One 2019 review concluded that ginger supplementation significantly reduced body weight, the hip-waist ratio, and the hip ratio in people with overall overweight or obesity. Osteoarthritis. Y'all, somebody send me to dang English school. OA involves degeneration of the joints. This is what I was reading. Leading to symptoms such as joint pain and stiffness. And it can help. One review concluded that ginger may help reduce pain and disability. And it says the participants took 0.5 to 1 gram of ginger per day for 3 to 12 weeks. Blood sugar, type 2 diabetes. And it said in a 2015 study, 41 people with type 2 diabetes took 2 grams of ginger powder per day. And in a 2022 review, found a significant reduction in fasting blood sugar, HbA1c in people with type 2 diabetes after taking ginger supplements. I'd be careful with them supplements. Just do it natural, honey. Oh, another thing, may reduce menstrual pain. When I read that, I said, oh my God, well, it's either gas or I'm going to have a bad one tomorrow. Oh, it says ginger will help relieve dysmenorrhea, also known as menstrual pain. Yeah, I'll never be able to say that. Some research has suggested that ginger is just as effective as Tylenol honey, Midol honey, Advil honey. That it's just as ginger can be just as effective as all of those medications. That's crazy. It grows in the ground, girl. You could just like grow it and not even have to worry about buying medicine anymore. I know what I'm doing from now on. I can't believe how quick it like took my everything away. It was crazy. Also, mustard. That's another trick that I used to do behind the bar. We always had mustard. When I would have heartburn at work, I would just eat a tablespoon of mustard, and it actually neutralizes, I guess, the acid in your stomach, and your heartburn will go away for a little while. There's also, because of the antioxidants and the oil that is in ginger, the ginger oil itself, there is some evidence that these compounds may reduce the risk of gastrointestinal cancers, pancreatic, and liver cancer. That's crazy. The study conducted, the people in the study took 2 grams of ginger daily for 28 days. At the end of the study, the lining of the participants' intestines showed fewer cancer-like changes than expected. That's amazing. It can also help fight infections. Y'all just gonna have to look at it, because E. coli is one of them. Staphylococcus. Yeah, it's not happening. I find it interesting, intestinal infections. A lot of this stuff is dealing with the inside of the body. Hello. The inside of the body. So that ginger seems to be an all-around benefit. I know one thing, it helped me, honey, because I thought I was going to die. I said, what have I done? Is he taking me now? Is this how I'm going out? A fart is going to take me out? Imagine making it off of heroin after almost half a dozen, or right at half a dozen overdoses, and you get taken out by gas. I will say that since coming off the Suboxone, my body has had to adapt to my diet, and I've had to adapt my diet to my body, because it's definitely different. When you're on that Suboxone, you are constipated. It does. But it's heroin. That's why. Like, it's an opiate. That's why. Yeah, so your body has to readjust. It's took about a month to feel decent, and I'm just glad that I'm off of it. I really am. But my body is still adjusting. So, y'all, let me get this pulled up. Y'all know the movie Silence of the Lambs? And what was the other one? There was a movie inspired by an actual crime. Ed Gein. I want to talk about his relationship with his mother. We're also going to talk about his crimes, and a lot of people have talked about Ed Gein's crimes, but I want to really focus on his relationship with his mother, his father, his brother, their family history, and why Ed ended up going Silence of the Lambs on everybody. First of all, he ended up dying in prison in 1980 something. Ooh. There seems to be photos. I was looking for photos. Sorry. Oh, it's a beautiful little farmhouse. It's a damn shame he went crazy. First of all, he had this seriously unhealthy relationship with his mother. He was completely devoted to her, but not in a son and mother way. To my knowledge, there's not a lot, unfortunately, because of the internet, things get lost now. You would think because we have the internet that things are easier to find. In my opinion, that's not true. When things were actually written in books and printed, I miss those times. I should be able to find a lot more information about his history as far as dating, if he ever had a girlfriend, if he ever thought of getting married, any of that. You can't even find that stuff. To my basic knowledge, he never had a relationship with a girl at all. His mother, Augusta Gein, they were a family of 4. Mother, father George, mother Augusta. Ed had a brother. Augusta was a very religious woman. She was by the book when it comes to the Bible. She thought that she was the only woman on earth that was untainted. She actually taught these 2 boys, who were her sons, that women were disgusting, that women were sinners. Augusta had a very unhealthy relationship, not only with God, but with her children. Now, Ed, who is Edward Theodore Gein, was actually born August 27th, 1906, and he's known as the Butcher of Plainfield, or the Plainfield Gowl. He was an American murderer. He killed 2 people, but he also he was a grave robber. He dug up corpses, and he made household items like lampshades, and he also made personal items like masks and gloves. And this is the guy that inspired Silence of the Lambs, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. This is the guy that inspired those movies and a lot of stuff, books, movies. He was a body snatcher. Let's talk about it. I want to talk about his early childhood back to Augusta and George. So he was actually born in La Crosse, Wisconsin. He was the second of 2 boys. George Philip Gein was his brother. Augusta Gein was his mother. And so Augusta, who was feverishly religious and Lutheran, she was a Lutheran, frequently preached to her sons about the innate immortality of the world, the evil of drinking, and her belief that all women were naturally promiscuous and instruments of the devil, everyone but Augusta herself. She wasn't a sinner with 2 boys. She, in my opinion, judging from all of the research that I've done on this woman, she was suffering with some mental health issues, and, this was the the early 1900s, 1906, when she had Ed. And actually, his older brother went by the name Henry, and he was born in 1873, so him and Ed were quite a few years apart. Oh, no, that's the father. I'm so sorry. I'm an idiot. The father was born in 1873. It doesn't tell me when Henry was born. I was trying to see how old how many years they were apart, because something crazy would go down. First of all, Henry went missing one day, somewhere out in the field. These people owned a huge farm with a little farmhouse. And even though Ed and Henry were of age at this point, they were in their 30s and 40s, still living at home with George and Augusta, Henry goes missing one day. He's reported missing by his brother, Ed, and when the cops showed up to help Ed look for his brother, Ed led them to Henry's body that was dead. But he's the one that initially reported his brother missing, saying that he didn't know where his brother was. And when the cops showed up, rolled up, hey, we're here, where should we start the search? Ed says, oh, no need, he's right over here. And he was dead. Something that was crazy to me was that Henry actually, I read one report that his body was burned, that he was on fire when the cops showed up. I read another report that said there was no burning on the body. Once again, these records are not very clear, but something that is clear is that Henry had been beat in the head. Now, despite the fact that he had blunt force trauma to the head, what we would call blunt force, the cops deemed it an accident, and this death was never looked into. Years later, after Ed was busted, he hinted at the fact that his brother's death was no accident. Then was his brother his first kill? I don't know. So, going back to Augusta, she reserved time every day, every afternoon, to read to the kids from the Bible, the book of Revelation concerning death, usually selecting verses from the Old Testament as well, murder and the divine retribution. Gein idolized and become obsessed with his mother. And y'all, when I say obsessed, it was an unhealthy obsession. Ed and his mother were two peas in a pod. And actually, Augusta raised these children to hate their father, George, because George was an alcoholic. He was abusive. He beat the children. This was not a loving home. We have a mother who is so wrapped up in religion and mental health issues, in my opinion, that she is raising her children in an unhealthy manner around an alcoholic who beats them, berates them, and harms them. This was not a loving home, and it is actually not a surprise to me that Ed would grow up to do what he's going to go on to do. Augusta hated her husband, an alcoholic who was unable to keep a job. He had worked at various times. George worked as a carpenter, a tanner, an insurance salesman. During this time in La Crosse, Gein's father, George, owned a local grocery shop, but he soon sold the business and left the city with his family to live in isolation on a 155-acre farm in the town of Plainville, Wisconsin, which became their permanent residence. Augusta took advantage of the farm's isolation by turning away outsiders who could influence her sons. So here we have a family, mental health problems, drug addiction, two young boys, and these people take them to complete isolation, to isolate themselves and fall deeper into addiction and mental health problems. These boys probably never had an ounce of normalcy in their lives. It sounds, from what I've learned about Augusta, she was not right. She should have been in a mental hospital. She was sick. She made these boys fear women. She made these boys believe that women were possessed by demons and that they were these horrible beings that were overly sexual creatures that would, rub off on them and make them go to hell. It's crazy. I mean, if she was living today, that might make sense. No, I'm joking. It's crazy. And then the father is berating these children, beating them, and God knows what else. So Ed and Henry actually only ever left the farm just to go to school. They were completely isolated. Outside of school, they spent most of their time doing chores on the farm. And it says that Ed was actually a really shy kid. And classmates and teachers remembered him as having strange mannerisms. Yeah, because he hasn't been socially adapted to the real world. I'm sure he was a little weird. They said that he would burst out in laughter like he was having inside conversations with himself. Augusta, his mother, pushed him whenever he tried to make friends. She didn't like the boys trying to make friends. She didn't want the boys being influenced by any outside sources. She wanted to have complete manipulation over their minds. Despite his poor social development, Gein did fairly well in school. I read that he was an avid reader and that he was really good at reading. And it's just so sad that he did fairly well in school and that he took to reading and he still ended up a bad apple. So, Ed was born in 1906. On April 1st of 1940, his father, George, went into heart failure at 66 years old. How old would he have been? 34. At this point, once again, Henry and him are still living at home with their parents. And Ed and Henry, after their father's death, decided to take on the family's responsibility and support their mother. They were still living at home, but they started taking odd jobs so that they could support the family since the father died. And it says that Ed and his brother Henry began doing jobs around town to help cover living expenses. The brothers were generally considerable and reliable and honest, says the community. While both worked as handymen, Ed also frequently babysat for the neighbors, y'all. Woo! He was babysitting people's children. He enjoyed babysitting. And when I read this, I said, you know what? He probably did, because they're innocent. Psychologically speaking, he seemed to relate more easily to children than adults. How sad. That means that he never grew up. That happens to a lot of people that are abused, and they stay a child for forever. That's why you see young girls that talk like this at 40 years old. They got that high-pitched voice because they got stuck in a childlike state when the abuse happened. It's very common, and psychologically speaking, some people get stuck, and it sounds like he related to children. I mean, it's creepy that he was babysitting them, but he never harmed any children. So maybe he should have opened a daycare and things would have went the other way. I don't know. I just know that because of his abuse, I can see the behavioral patterns. Like, I can see that his abuse affected him. So Henry was the only brother that I could find out any dating history on. Ed, it doesn't seem like he ever had a girlfriend, ever had a romantic interest in women, because, in my opinion, because of his upbringing. Now, Henry was older, and Henry had actually lived in the city longer. He wasn't as isolated as his younger brother, Ed. And it said that Henry began dating a divorced mother of two and planned to move in with her. He worried about his brother's attachment to their mother and often spoke ill of her around Ed, who responded with shock and hurt. So Ed was a mama's boy. Okay. Henry, not so much. Henry thought that it was very concerning that Ed and their mother, Augusta, was so close. And actually, Henry had serious debates with his mother about Ed and her relationship. It was very common for Henry to bring up the fact that Augusta and her son were tied at the hip. And she would always blow him off, or it would be a blow up. And, it's just crazy that even though Henry got the same abuse as Ed, Henry knew that it was not healthy. On May 16th, 1944, Ed was burning away marsh vegetation on the property. The fire got out of control, drawing the attention to the local fire department. By the end of the day, the fire having been extinguished, but the firefighters gone, Ed reported his brother missing. Now, I read a whole 2 other stories that were completely different than this one. So this is the third storyline. With lanterns and flashlights, a search party searched for 43-year-old Henry. So Ed was born in 1906. I'm trying to figure out how many years they were apart, you guys. Ed was born in 1906. He would have been 34. No, 30. Yeah, 34 plus 4 is 38. So 38 and 43 is 5 years. So they were 5 years apart approximately. Listen, I did that really quick. And y'all know I got anxiety. So a search party searched for 43-year-old Henry, whose dead body was found laying face down. Apparently, he had been dead for some time, and it appeared that the cause of death was heart failure, since he had not been burned or other injuries otherwise. Now, that's a lie. He actually had contusions to his head, and the sheriff at the time decided not to investigate that. And I read another one where the body was actually burned. So, I don't know, you guys. I'm just being honest. It was later reported by a biographer, I think I did it right, Harold, that Henry had bruises on his head. The police dismissed the possibility of foul play, and the county coroner later officially listed asphyxiation as the cause of death. The authorities accepted the accident theory, but no official investigation was conducted, and an autopsy was never performed. Questioning Gein about the death of someone else in 1957, the state investigator, Joe, brought up questions about Henry's death. And it says that his responses, a specialist wrote in his case file in retrospect that it was possible and likely that Henry's death was the Cain and Abel aspect of this case. So one of the investigators and a psychologist said that it was likely that he actually murdered his own brother. So Henry dies, and it's Ed, and let me show y'all a picture as I'm doing this. So this was the property. So Henry dies. They don't know how. They assume that it was an accident. This was the property. Once again, at this point, George has passed away, the father. Hello, hola. And it's 155 acres, which is quite a bit of land, you guys. You can get missing out there, you know. And at this point, the only people left are Augusta, the mother, and Ed. With Henry deceased, Ed and Augusta were now alone. Augusta had a paralyzing stroke shortly after Henry's death, and Ed devoted himself to taking care of her. Oh, that's great. You're supposed to take care of your mother, but he had shrines all over the house dedicated to his mother. Shrines. Her hair. Locks of her hair tied into bows and stuff. Like unhealthy. Sometime in 1945, he later recounted he and his mother visited a man named Smith who lived nearby to purchase straw. According to Ed, Augusta witnessed Smith beating a dog. A woman inside the Smith residence came out and yelled at him to stop, but Smith beat the dog to death. Augusta was extremely upset by this scene. However, what bothered her did not appear to be the brutality towards the dog, but rather the presence of the woman. They are so isolated that Augusta has not even seen another woman in how long? She's losing her mind because there is a woman at this property. This is why you don't isolate. This is a prime example of why you cannot isolate from society. I know they suck, but her mental health problems are screaming loud and clear to me, baby. The presence of another woman drove her mad. Augusta told Ed that the woman was not married to Smith, so she had no business being there. Oh, she's a judgmental hypocrite. That's right. She angrily called her the Smith's harlot. She soon had a second stroke. That might be karma. She soon had a second stroke soon after, and her health deteriorated rapidly. Augusta died on December 29, 1945, at the age of 67. Ed was completely devastated by her death. Completely, like destroyed. Non-functioning. Walking around aimlessly. Losing his mind after his mother's death. Once again, this was an unhealthy, codependent bond that they had. It was absolutely codependency. And he says that he lost his only friend and one true love. And he was absolutely alone in the world. And Ed become a recluse. He fell into a deep depression. He isolated even more. You know, this is a child who's been abused by the only two people he had in his life other than his teacher. And even when he was at school, he did not have normal relationships. He was not a normal social child. And now his whole family is dead. And this unhealthy, unstable relationship with his mother pushed him over the edge, and he isolated even more. So he ended up holding on to the farm, and he earned money through odd jobs. He boarded up rooms used by his mother, including the upstairs, downstairs parlor, and living room, leaving them untouched, while the rest of the house became increasingly squalid? S-Q-U-A-L-I-D. These rooms remained pristine. Gein lived there after in a small room next to the kitchen. Around this time, he became interested in reading pulp magazines and adventure stories, particularly those involving cannibals or Germany, you know. Yeah. He was obsessed with the N-word, Germany, you know. So, and specifically concerning, I'm going to spell this because I'm scared if I say it, I'll get flagged. And I think it's L-L-S-E or I-I-S-E-K-O-C-H, who selected tattoo prisoners for death in order to fashion lampshades and other items from their skins. Gein received a farm subsidy from the federal government starting in 1951. So he would have been in his 40s then. He occasionally worked for the local municipal road crew and crop threshing crews in the Plainfield area. Sometime between 1946 and 56, he sold an 80-acre parcel of land that Henry had owned. So outside of work, Ed was a complete recluse who stayed to himself. He had his reasons. He was busy. We're about to get into that. But outside of work, he had no friends. He never had company. And once again, after his mother died, he fell into a depression and he turned the house into a complete shrine of all of his mother's things. Her bedroom went untouched for years. Like, he dedicated his whole life to her life and death. It's really sad. Let's talk about what happened on the morning of November 16, 1957. 58-year-old Plainfield hardware store owner Bernice Worden disappeared. The hardware store's truck was seen driving out from the rear of the building at around 9:30 a.m. The hardware store saw few customers the entire day. Some residents believed that it was because of deer hunting season. Worden's son, Deputy Sheriff Frank Worden, oh my God, he's the sheriff? No! I missed that. Her son entered the store around 5 p.m. to find the cash register open and blood stains on the floor. Imagine looking for your mother and finding out she's done been robbed, number one, and taken. Frank Worden told investigators that on the evening before his mother's disappearance, Gein had been in the store and was expected to have returned the next morning for a gallon of antifreeze. The sales slip for the antifreeze was the last receipt written by Worden on the morning that she disappeared. That evening, Ed was arrested at a West Plainfield grocery store, and the WAUSHARRA County Sheriff's Department searched the Gein farm. So this sheriff's mother's done went missing. He starts investigating and finds out that Ed was the last one in the store the night before, and he had stated that he'd be back the next morning. And also, the last receipt that was in the drawer was for antifreeze. So Ed was arrested. Based on those facts, that's more than enough evidence. A sheriff's deputy discovered Worden's decapitated body in a shed on Ed's property. Oh, we're gonna do a demonstration if I can find my board. Yo, what is wrong with me today? Okay, let's see if I can do this right. So she was hung upside down with her legs in the air, hold on, with a crossbar hanging her feet up, her head missing. She had ropes at her wrist. The torso was dressed out like a deer. Let me just tell you that means that her whole chest cavity was open, dressed out like a deer. That's what they do to deer. They cut them down the gut and they pull everything out. Y'all, this is horrible. She had been shot with a .22 caliber rifle, and the mutilations were made after her death. Searching the house, authorities also found whole human bones and fragments, a wastebasket made of human skin covering several chairs, skulls on his bedpost, female skulls, some with the top sewn off, bowls made of human skulls. He was eating out of human skulls. I'm laughing because it's just sick as hell, unbelievable. I would ask what happens to someone to make them this way, but we already know. There was a corset made from a female torso skinned from the shoulders to waist. Hold on. There was a corset made from a female, her torso skinned from shoulders to waist. Leggings made from human leg skin. My next question is, were they hairy? Sorry, I just gotta be funny. Were they hairy leggings? Seriously, were they hairy? Now I gotta put my... Because I forget. I know when I was reading this, I was like, I'm gonna have to give a demonstration because they won't know what the hell I mean. Damn, this chalk gets everywhere. That's what I don't like. So, leggings made from human leg skin, mask made from the skin of female heads. I read one where it said that they opened a box and it was like a slab of somebody's face. It was just a face mask. There it is. Mary Hogan's face mask in a paper bag. It was a paper bag. Mary Hogan's skull in a box. Bernice Warden's entire head was in a burlap sack. Bernice Warden's heart was in a plastic bag in front of Gein's potbelly stove. What is a vulva? Oh my God, why did I click on that? That's a vagina. Y'all, I thought it was a vulva, not... I don't know how to read! Oops! It literally pulled up pictures. 9 vulvae in a shoebox, part of female reproductive organs. A young girl's dress, and the vulvas of 2 females. Oh my God. What? Some of these girls, so, I'm not going to read that part. A belt made from female human nipples. A belt made of female human nipples. 4 noses, a pair of lips on a window shade drawstring. A lampshade made from the skin of a human face. Fingernails from female fingers. First of all, he killed 2 different women. The last one would be the lady from the hardware store. But he also was digging up graves. He was a grave robber. He would go and he would open up caskets and take the body, honey. It's disgusting. When asked in police interviews if he was having relations with these bodies, Ed claimed that he was not, because the bodies were decomposed so bad he couldn't get over the stench. But here you are living with a pair of human lips on the drawstring of your window shade. I don't know if I believe that, Ed. Whew. Lord have mercy. Let's see if there's a photo to go with this. I really don't want to get demonetized, but... let's see if there's any darn... First of all, this place wasn't atrocious. You could tell that he was living by himself, you know what I mean? And, let me turn this around. Place was a mess. So over here, the potbelly stove, I think that's what that is. That's where they found one of the hearts. Let's see here. So we can look. This was like his bedroom shot. And once again, that's taken through a 4-poster bed, it looks like. I could be tripping. I don't know. But they found human skulls on top of the 4-poster bed. Looks like an old PD officer going through stuff. Pictures were not as great as I thought they were going to be. I'm actually disappointed. I wanted crime scene photos, not a little house on the prairie. Oh, looks like a burn pit. I see engine parts, wood. Beautiful little farmhouse. Okay, let me see if I can find some actual photos. Anyways, so investigators in there. These artifacts were photographed at the crime laboratory and then decently disposed of. When questioned, Gein told investigators that between 1947 and 1952, he had made as many as 40 nocturnal nighttime visits to the 3 local graveyards to exhume recently buried bodies. On about 30 of those visits, he said that he came out dazed while in the cemetery, left the grave in good order, and returned home empty-handed. On other occasions, he dug up the graves of recently buried middle-aged women he thought resembled his mother, and took the bodies home where he tannered their skins to make his paraphernalia. First of all, I just want to be clear. I think that this boy was sexually abused. That is my belief. I will always feel that way. The fact that he was, and some of these girls that he dug up were underage. Some of those body parts that they found, those 13 or 15, they were linked back to, He did kill, the 2 women he killed were middle-aged like his mother, and they did resemble his mother. In my opinion, the sexual aspect tells a story of his childhood sexual abuse with his mother. That's just my belief. I do believe that Augusta was messing with him. Their unhealthy relationship and the fact that he is out here digging up dead bodies and cutting their female reproductive organs off, there is a sexual component to the killings. And also, the way that he was raised in this super Lutheran, unholy religious home, with his mother beating into him that women were the devil and that they were over-sexualized and she was the only good woman on earth and she was the only non-sinning woman, and it's just weird. I will always feel like because of her death, this is why he started killing, because of the abuse, because of his upbringing, and because, in my opinion, because of the sexual component that he had with his mother. It's sick. So, Ed admitted to stealing from 9 graves and led investigators to their location. The state crime laboratory participated in opening 3 test graves identified by Ed. The caskets inside were wooden boxes. The top boards ran across. The tops of the boxes were about 2 feet. Why is this relevant? So, because of the complexity of the way that these people were buried in graves, investigators initially thought he was full of it because they didn't see how he would have the strength single-handedly to dig up these types of graves in a single evening and then cover the grave back up. They didn't understand how he was doing this. So they almost didn't believe him, even though they had found all of these body parts. Can't make this stuff up, can you? One of the caskets that they went and exhumed had Ed's crowbar in it, so they were able to link that crowbar back to him. Some of the caskets that were exhumed, because Ed walked them around. Ed said, I dug up this one, I dug up that one, I dug up this one. Most of the ones they dug up were empty. Not only that, some of the caskets only had certain missing body parts. Like, he would dig them up and just take what he wanted. Oh, the smell, honey, the smell. So soon after his mother's death is when he really went off, obviously, the rails. He began to create a woman's suit so that he could become close to his mother and literally crawl into her skin. He idolized this woman. He wanted to be her. He denied having sex with the bodies he exhumed, explaining, they smelled too bad. During the state crime laboratory interrogation, Ed also admitted to shooting 51-year-old Mary Hogan, a tavern owner that had been missing since December 8th of 1954. That's my birthday, y'all. December 8th. When I read that, look, I'm getting chill bumps. Whew. So sad. Her head was found in his house, but he later denied any memory of killing her. Now, when I went to see if he had a history of drug abuse and or alcohol substance abuse, because his father did, which would be common, I was not able to find that information either. So a lot of these crimes, Ed said he does not recall going to the grave, digging up these bodies, and shuffling them back to the house. He says he was completely out of it. The only way that would be possible is if he was intoxicated, in my opinion, at this time, unless, I mean, he was crazy. There's no doubt that psychologically he is off the rails. So maybe, I don't know. I don't know how you could dig up a whole body and not remember it unless you were drunk. I think he's full of it, but, so this woman was his first victim. Mary Hogan was his first victim, and then the sheriff's mother, who ran the hardware store, was his second victim. Because of the second victim going missing and her son being a sheriff, they were able to get him, and after searching his house, they found all of these bodies. He took them to the grave site, showed them which graves he dug up. It's just crazy. A 16-year-old youth whose parents were friends of Ed's and who attended baseball games and movies with him reported that Ed kept shrunken heads in his house, which he had described as relics sent by a cousin who had served in the Philippines during World War II. Upon investigation by the police, these were determined to be human skins, facial skins, peeled, carefully peeled from corpses and used by Gein as masks. I want to talk to that 16-year-old boy that actually met him. What the hell, man? Your parents letting you hang out with this guy? It says that his parents were friends with him. And from what I read in another report, it was because he did work for the father. Ed did work for the father of this boy. Supposedly. Allegedly. So, there was an officer that beat the hell out of Ed in interrogation. And because this officer bashed Ed's head into a brick wall trying to get Ed to confess to other crimes, his initial confession was insubmissible in court. Inadmissible. There we go. Insubmissible. Y'all knew what I meant. So this officer, this case allegedly killed him. He ended up dying of heart failure at 43. Many who knew this officer said that he was extremely traumatized by the horror of Ed's crimes, and this, along with the fear of having to testify, caused his death. I mean, imagine seeing human skulls on a bedpost, honey, and a heart next to a potbelly stove where this SOB is about to eat it. And that's a great question. Did he eat stuff? Did Ed Gein eat body parts? So in another report from the History Channel, it says that he was into necrophilia, which is banging dead bodies, bruh. So, come on. I mean, given the fact that he was removing sexual organs, it made me feel like there was a sexual component to this. I mean, there is, obviously, Brooke, you just said it. But now I'm reading, here it is. Now I'm reading that he was into necrophilia and copious corpse trophies. It seems like they have deemed him a necrophiliac. So, in that case, that changes a lot. I mean, it definitely adds more merit to him being sexually abused by his mother. So, in addition to the murders of Hogan and Warden, the tavern owner and the Home Depot owner, I forgot what it's called, Ed was also considered a suspect in several other unsolved cases in Wisconsin. In November of 1957, authorities confronted Ed with a list of missing persons cases that had occurred between the death of his mother and Warden. Their suspicions were further aroused after the discovery of Hogan's remains. However, a lie detector determined to exonerate Ed of any other murders, and his psychiatrist concluded that his violence was only directed to women who physically resembled his mother. Georgia Jean Reckler, 8 years old, disappeared near her farm home in Fort Atkinson's. She wasn't even the age of his mother. What? Listen. She was given a lift home from a grade school in Jefferson by a neighbor who dropped Reckler off at the lane that led from U.S. Highway 12 to the Reckler farm. She was last seen pausing to open the family mailbox and removing a stack of mail. She was never seen again. Witnesses reported seeing a dark color, possibly black, 1936 Ford sedan with gray plastic spotlight in the vicinity that afternoon. Ed owned a black 1937 Ford. Yes, but she was 8 and nowhere near his mother's age. I wonder if there's like 6 of these listed, but they don't know. And some of them are men. And he was never linked back to any of these abductions or murders. There's 4 of them. 1, 2, 3. Evelyn Grace Hartley, Victor Harold Travis. They could never prove he did any of those. So on November 21st, 1957, Ed was arraigned on 1 count of first-degree murder. And he pled not guilty by reason of insanity. He was diagnosed with schizophrenia and found mentally incompetent, thus unfit for trial. He was sent to the Central State Hospital for the Criminally Insane, now known as the Dodge Correctional Institution, a maximum security facility. And he was later transferred to the Mendota State Hospital in Madison. In 1968, doctors determined that Ed was mentally able to confer with counsel and participate in his defense. The trial began November 7th of 1968 and lasted 1 week. A psychiatrist testified that Ed had told him that he did not know whether the killing of Warren was intentional or accidental. Ed had told him that while he examined a gun at Warden's store, the weapon discharged and killed her. He said that he had not aimed it. I don't believe that. I don't believe it. He went there with the intention of killing her. He actually went there the night before, in my opinion, with the intention of killing her, but there were people in the store, which is why he said he'd be back the next morning to buy the antifreeze, in my opinion. But he denied and said that he didn't know if what happened, and that it was an accidental, or he said it was an accidental discharge, sorry. He said he had not aimed the rifle at Warden and did not remember anything else that happened that morning. How convenient. So at the request of his attorney, the defense, Ed's trial was held without a jury. Is that a judge trial? What do they call that? I forget what it's called, y'all. A judge can determine the outcome without a jury in specific sentence. with Judge Robert H. Goldmar presiding. Ed was found guilty by Goldmar on November 14th. The second trial dealt with Gein's sanity. After testimony by doctors for the prosecution and defense, the judge ruled Ed not guilty by reason of insanity and ordered him to the Central Hospital for the Criminally Insane. I mean, I kind of agree with this in a way, because psychologically speaking, it's no secret that he was severely damaged. So if he did in fact have schizophrenia, he needed to be in a mental hospital, not in a prison, because he would have been in there making lampshades, honey. So he did end up spending the rest of his natural life in a mental hospital, which is really, I mean, I feel bad for the guy because he was doomed from the start. He was doomed from the start. I'm not saying what he did is right. It's wrong. It's wrong. But psychologically speaking, it is no surprise. Given his upbringing, it's no surprise. So, due to the cost of court for investigators, and due to the fact that Ed was sentenced to a mental hospital for the rest of his natural life, they decided not to prosecute him for the second murder. They only prosecuted him for Miss Warden's murder, but he also admitted to killing Mary, and they found Mary's body parts, so it was no secret who done it. Gein's house, the outbuildings, and his 195-acre property were appraised. Listen to this. His house, that beautiful house, I would love to have a farmhouse like that. The outbuildings and his 195-acre ranch was only appraised for $4,700. My, how things have changed, right? Things have changed. Not even $5,000. That entire property. His possessions were scheduled to be auctioned off, and that was in 1958. They appraised that property at $4,700. That pisses me off. We should not have that'd be a $1 million property nowadays. Easy. 195 acres, shit, that might be a few million. Plus the house and the outhouses and all the barns. So, early on the morning of March 20th, 1958, the house that stood on the land was destroyed by a fire. A deputy fire marshal reported that a garbage fire had been set 75 feet from the house, and the hot coals set the house on fire. Arson was suspected, but the cause of the fire was never officially determined. It's possible the fire was not considered a matter of urgency for Fire Chief Frank Warden, the son of the grieving victim. The grieving son of the victim. Warden, the lady warden. Damn it. It's always something, ain't it? Is this phone gonna die too? So Ed's Ford sedan that was on the property, which he used to haul the bodies of his victims from the graveyards back to his home, it was sold at public auction for $760. Who the hell would want that car? Oh, it's a carnival sideshow now. They charge admission to see the car back in the 50s, because Ed was a known serial killer, prolific serial killer. So Ed ended up dying in the Minnesota Mental Institute due to respiratory failure and also secondary to lung cancer on July 26 of 1984 at the age of 77. Over the years, souvenir seekers chipped away pieces from his gravestone until the stone itself was stolen in 2000. The stone was recovered in June of 2001 near Seattle, Washington, and was placed in storage at the Sheriff's Department. Ed is buried between his parents and brother in a Plainfield cemetery. His gravesite is now unmarked but not unknown. So Ed's story had a lasting effect on American pop culture, as evidenced by his numerous appearances in film, music, and literature. The tale first came widespread public attention in the fictionalized version presented by Robert Bloch in his 1959 suspense novel, Psycho, in addition to Alfred Hitchcock's 1960 film of the novel, Psycho. There's another movie that was made in 1974 called Deranged, In the Light of the Moon in 2000. And it was released in the United States and Australia as Ed Gein in 2001, Ed Gein the Butcher of Plainville in 2007. There's musicals, there's a Rob Zombie film. Oh, yeah, House of a Thousand Corpses, great movie. Oh, God, oh my God, I'm thinking of his wife singing. I love that album. That Rob Zombie album is so good. It has Living Dead Girl on it, but it also has like all of these crazy songs with his wife in the background. 10 out of 10. The Devil's Rejects. And its sequel, The Devil's Rejects. Leatherface, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Buffalo Bill, The Silence of the Lambs, and the American Horror Story, Asylum. So, Ed Gein's story inspired the American garage band Tad to write the song Nipple Belt for their 1989 album, God's Balls. Jesus, I'm going to hell. Please forgive me. Slayer also wrote a song called Dead Skin Mask for their 1990 album, Seasons of the Abyss. And additionally, the inspiration and namesake for the song Nothing to Gain by the American heavy metal band Mudvayne, released on their 2000 album. He also inspired Patrick Bateman in the 1991 novel American Psycho and the 2000 film adaptation. In 2022, Ed Gein, portrayed by Shane Kerwin, appears in the first season of the Netflix's season, Monster. Is a possible inspiration for Jeffrey Dahmer. However, a direct connection between the two... Oh. I thought they were gonna... Oh, so they're going to make... In 2024, it was announced that Charlie Hunnam will portray Ed Gein in the third season of Monster, where Gein will be the primary focus of the season. I don't know about that. I want to see if I can find some crime scene photos. I want to see... I know I'm a weirdo. Sorry. Ain't that crazy, his relationship with his mother? I don't know if there's any pictures on the internet. Probably not, Brooke. Oh, yes, there is. Y'all ready? I'm going to see if I can zoom in. Alright, so this seems to be in a museum somewhere. He had made forks and spoons. Where's it at? Forks and spoons out of what looks to be arm bones. I'm going out on a limb. Mask. Y'all. Is that the shrunken heads? Hold on. Let's zoom in on this one. Hello, hello. Hello, hello. I know, Troy. Ain't this crazy? I think I originally found this on like 3 years ago. Bailey Sarian. What the hell? Bailey Sarian does true crime. Love her, by the way. She blew up. I used to watch her when she didn't have, like, when she started her channel. And she covered Ed Gein. That's how I even know who he is. But she didn't really, she tells the basics. She doesn't talk about his relationship with his parents and why he ended up doing this, psychologically speaking. She talks about his crimes, which is great. Why do they fish me? Why do they bait me with no pictures? You piece of crap. Y'all, I don't think there's many pictures. Now, this was Ed. I mean, honestly, he looks like a normal farmer out in the middle of BFE. His home was just piles of stuff. Oh my God, y'all. Sorry, I thought I was getting robbed. It's birds. Oh my God. No. Remember, they found a set of chairs that had human skin. Oh my God, y'all. Here we go. Ugh. These are some of the items he made. Lampshades. Looks like high heels, mask, gloves. There's the nipple belt. This is wild. Yeah, you don't know who you're dealing with. You know, apparently, I read that he was wonderful with kids. Everybody trusted him with their kids. I mean, he never harmed any kids. And I don't believe, in my opinion, because of the MO, because of the types of graves he dug up, they were all his mother's age, you know. I don't think that he was into children, and I don't believe he killed any of those girls that were kidnapped. But we don't know. We don't know. It sounds like he was stuck in a childlike state. What is going on around here today? I'm gonna need y'all to pipe it down. He seemed like he was in a childlike obsessive state over his mother. This was his mom. This was his mom. Is that his brother? That might be his mom. That's his mother, Augusta. What is that hair just sticking out of a box? Oh my God, you guys. Okay. Trigger warning. So he gutted that woman. There's a picture of it. Her arms were tied, and then there was a T-bar between her legs that she was tied to the rafter, like the... Whew, honey. I'm not going to be able to sleep tonight. Well, and this is a perfect example of what happens when you shove religion and craziness, well, when you're a parent suffering from mental health problems and you pass it down to your child. Now, he was ultimately deemed schizophrenic. If that is in fact true, then it is no surprise with his horrible, abusive father being an alcoholic, beating the hell out of him all the time, and his mother over here fixated on him. I will always believe that she had some kind of sexual relations with her son because of the sexual components, because of his propensity to kill women that were identical to his mother, essentially. And the fact that he was removing sexual organs and had a box of them, honey. There was a sexual component, in my opinion, to this case. And, you know, I read once that Augusta, we were talking about Alberts earlier. I read that Augusta actually caught Ed pleasuring himself in the bathtub once, and she grabbed him by the genitals while assaulting him, squeezing his genitals, and told him that that was the devil's work, and that, you know, she grabbed his junk, squeezed it, and put the fear of God in him. So, you know, anything that was sexual or even just being around women, she didn't even allow that. Because of that, I do think that it led him to not be psychologically well. I think that if he would have grew up in a normal home, there's a good chance that even though he had schizophrenia, he would have come out being fine. It was because of the layers of abuse that he was exposed to, in my opinion. He was not screwed right in the head, which is sad. I mean, I do believe that the abuse is 10 times worse than what we even know about. It's just sad. I mean, just the bodies getting stolen, the women getting killed, his whole family dynamic. I do believe that the isolation is a huge component in this case. The whole family isolating, the mother of Augusta saying that women are bad, and like, you cannot do that. We know from Ted Kaczynski, wasn't that his name, the Unabomber? We know that it is not good to isolate. When people are isolating and they're suffering from mental health disorders, their mental health disorders become 10 times worse. And I think it was Ted Kaczynski, the Unabomber. Oh my God, I got one right. I never get shit right. Yes, so, the Unabomber who terrorized the nation for like 20 years in the 90s, 96. The FBI wanted him. He was out here building bombs, mailing them to people, killing people. And it was because he was mentally disturbed. But he also isolated, just like Ed. The only time Ed had contact with people was when he was working for them. And the rest of his free time, he wanted to be at the gravesite at night digging up bodies. It's just horrifying. I think it's probably one of the most gruesome, disturbing abuse cases. It's an abuse case to me. Yes, it's a murder case, but before it was a murder case, it was an abuse case. And psychologically speaking, this is what happens to people when they're raised by people that shouldn't have kids and they're isolated. It's sad. I think that he could have went a whole different way. When I was reading about his early childhood years, not only was he super agreeable, but he stayed to himself and he actually made good grades. So there's no telling who he could have ended up being if his parents weren't abusive as hell. It's a miracle. I look at cases like that and I'm like, wait a second, I'm not doing half bad. Given my upbringing, I should be right there with him. Absolutely. My mother died. I almost never found my mind again. I found drugs and almost died and I did several times. So, it's just sad. I wonder if he murdered Henry. That's my biggest question. Did he kill his brother Henry? Was that his first? Because him and Henry were at each other's throats over the fact that Augusta and Ed were so close. Henry would bring this up every day, that they were up each other's butt, like stick in the mud. And Ed would get very defensive and fight with Henry because he was so close to his mother. And Henry had actually essentially condemned the relationship. Like, he was like over it. And, he wanted to leave the property because of how weird their relationship was. At least Henry saw something and said something. Listen, I hate he had to die, but at least he saw something. The fact that the sheriff noted in his investigative report that Henry had contusions to his head, like he had been hit with something, leads me to believe that he was hit with something, honey. I don't know why they ruled that death an accident when they never even did an investigation. But once again, this was the 1950s, and I think it was the 1944 when he died. So things was different, You could kill your wife and say that she drowned in the bathtub and nobody blinked an eye, I'm surprised my phone is still. Gein. We were talking about Gein, Susan. Gosh, how sad. I wanted to look up. I'm hot. Oh, I'm sweating. I just got out of the shower. Let's not sweat to death. I was looking to see if there was any other cases, if, any other cases of kind of like, I don't know what to call it, biblical abuse? That's the only thing I can think. Biblical abuse cases. I mean, because that's what it was. She was using religion to make Ed and his brother behave a certain way. She was using religion to control and impose fear in those children. I mean, listen, abuse is abuse. It don't matter if it's coming gift wrapped or if it's coming in a Bible. If you are doing something to install fear into children, that is abuse. And also, if you're doing that to control them in a manner, that's absolutely abuse. And it's coming up with the cases from the Bible. Like, that's great too. Towards. I really think that that's one of the few, like, cases that I've ever read about that the children were abused through God in that manner. That feels so good. Whew. My legs and everything's sweating. My thighs. I got my thunder thighs. They're perspirating. They got condensation. I'm not seeing any other true crimes. Well, I'm sure I'll run across another one again. I'll be like, this crazy woman made her children believe that God... something. We'll find another one. Is that not crazy? The whole family. And, you know, really, there's not a lot of... Oh, there's a museum. There's a museum in Plainfield that you can visit that has all of this memorabilia from Ed and the farm and what's left of the farm you can visit. I think I'm good. Once again, Brooke doesn't go places where there might be ghosts, because Brooke ain't picking up no damn demon, okay? I ain't doing it. You couldn't pay me to walk in that museum or that location of that house. Just like the Corpsewood murders, where it says this morning, we were talking about the Corpsewood murders with Joseph and Charles that were murdered, the gay couple, you know, they were Satan worshipers. There ain't no telling what portal Charles done opened over there that's been open since the 80s when they were killed, 70s. No thank you. No thank you. So it's the Washoe County Historical Museum. You go on up in there if you want to. Wow. So they have like these rooms in there that they've kind of Ed Gein'd up. Creepy. The pictures are enough for me. It says that some of that stuff was bought at his estate auction. They auctioned everything off after he was committed to the mental hospital. The city bought it and damn turned it into a museum. How sick. Well, damn, the carnival people damn bought his car to turn into a sideshow, so it's no surprise. Now I'm cold because I'm sweaty. Man, you gotta love your child, but not like that. I mean, Augusta really was a sick heifer. I think, you know, now, that's another thing. Was he truly schizophrenic? I mean, they deemed him schizophrenic. And they always said, his classmates said that he was always, like, laughing at himself, like he had inner monologue, like he was almost talking to someone else. So, you know, if he was schizophrenic, there's a good chance that Alberta was too, which would explain why she was so paranoid about the outside world and hated humans, That would explain a lot. Why she had these irrational concerns and fears about the world. Now, I'm not saying, let's see. Was Augusta Gein, Ed Gein's mother, also schizophrenic? It's been so long, you guys. A lot of this stuff is hard to find. They don't even have records on it anymore. Nobody knows nothing. They said he was a model patient after being incarcerated for his gruesome crimes. He also had a skull that was used as a soup bowl. We read that. He dug up over 40 human bodies. I'm trying to find his medical. So one of the doctors that worked in the mental institute said that the murderer, Ed, was a perfect patient. He was blissful, calm, never requiring any tranquilizers to keep him under control, and he got along really well with other patients. What? I mean, you know, the crazy thing is there's actually zero reports of him ever being violent, hostile, or mean to anyone. Everybody that knew him said that he was sweet and shy. That's the creepy part, that he was sweet and shy. Over here into necrophilia. This article highlights that he lived under very stringent rules without freedom. He was always told what to think, what to do. And to do this to children is very difficult for children. We're talking about the psychological aspect of his upbringing. He experienced ongoing chronic trauma in childhood. It says that they then replay that childhood trauma as adults and re-participate in the conditions as a way of managing and processing the trauma. Essentially, they are drawn to it. So, you know, Ed was trying to make a full bodysuit to step into his mother's skin. The doctor is saying that Ed was trying to replay his childhood. This is so sick. Listen, I don't know how to say this word, but this is part of the... So it says, in Ed's mind, had Augusta been replaced by his incarcerators? His incarcerators were the people that kept him under control. In being authoritarian, they may, you wouldn't know for sure without talking to him, have been reminiscent of his mother. How creepy. Like, poor guy. Like, I feel bad for everybody involved. Like, the dead people, but also, I feel bad for baby Ed. There we go. I feel bad for childhood Ed and Henry. So, it's been reported that the only thing that troubled medical staff about Ed was the disconcerting way that he stared at nurses and other female staff. Yeah, he's never seen them before. He's never seen a woman in his life other than a dead one. This is what happens when you isolate. It's hard to tell whether he was consumed by fantasy or obsessional thoughts, or whether he eroticized their bodies. We also don't know whether he suffered from dispersonalization, a highly aroused and traumatized state where you're almost outside of your body, observing yourself, observing which sometimes happens to people who have been abused. A person who looks like nobody is home is how people describe dispersonalization. Or maybe it was rage, or a combination of rage and eroticism. The possibilities are many. They don't know what was making him tick. Doctors diagnosed Ed Gein as schizophrenic, and they're asking a specialist if they agree with this diagnosis. Obviously, we all know to look at what he did and to say he must have been sick to do whatever he did, but that's not necessarily true. Psychodynamically, these murders were driven by his relationship with his mother, and by going after figures like her and destroying them, he would attempt to subsume them, subsume, subsume? I don't even know what that means. Anyways, he would attempt to subsume them by taking their parts and making them part of him. I think I really need to figure out what that word is, because it sounds imperative, because I don't know what they mean. Subsume? Absorb. Include, to absorb. He was absorbed. Why didn't you just say he was completely consumed? There we go. He was consumed by them, taking their parts and making them part of him. Still, from a mental health perspective, we don't know if his crimes had to do with the lack of moral compass or a pleasure in making others suffer. I don't think that it was anything like that. I don't. That's all psychopathy, which is different from schizophrenia, where you would expect psychosis, specific delusions, and hallucinations that make it impossible for someone to understand right from wrong, and over time, a cognitive decline. I really feel like Augusta messed with him in his teenage years. I would assume around 15, but this is all assumption. He seems to mentally stunt around 15, in my opinion. So, I don't know. The specialist nowadays says that they do not believe that he was schizophrenic. And once again, he was in a mental institution where they never had to subdue him. If he was schizophrenic, he would have been showing the F out. I don't know. I don't know if he was schizophrenic. I mean, he was functioning in society outside of killing these, or digging up these bodies. So, I don't know. I do think that sending him to a state mental institution was the best plan of action, because this was I know he did horrible things, y'all, some of the sickest shit we've ever talked about on here, but this was a man who was psychologically damaged severely. It is no surprise that he turned out like this. His unnatural obsession with his mother, that might have been sexual, it was, in my opinion. The religious aspects of the, religious abuse, in my opinion, and then his father's alcoholism and physical beatings and verbal beatings. I mean, this was a daily thing. These kids were so isolated, they never had friends. Not a friend. They never saw women. Do you know how isolated you have to isolate your children to where you are the only woman that they have ever saw? It's sick. He could have went a whole different way. I feel bad for him. I feel bad for baby Ed and baby Henry, because it's wrong, and I see the psychological impact and the behavioral patterns. It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. It's why you cannot isolate. Don't be isolating. Go make you some friends. Don't be a hermit crab. You got to get out. Trust me, I know it sucks. I hate people half the time, and I don't want to be out here, but I still do it, I still do it. I force myself, actually, to be around people, because I know that that's what mentally and spiritually I need. But it's not my favorite. I've isolated before. When I moved back to North Carolina last year, I isolated for like 3 months, and it was bad. It was the worst depression of my entire life. And I don't ever want to do that again, and I'm just glad that I pulled myself out of it. But it's imperative that we have human connection, human conversation, physical touch. These things are important to the human spirit, mind, and body. So, I'm not saying go fornicate with everybody, but I'm saying give your best girlfriend a hug. You know what I mean? Give your mama a hug. I need to stop drinking this. It's already 5 o'clock. I'm going to be up all night, y'all. That was actually a fun one. I've learned about him quite a bit. I've actually been obsessed with that case for a while, since I saw Bailey Sarian cover it like 4 years ago. It's an interesting one for me because of the psychological part of the case. And I think that that's what's overlooked the most. Everybody talks about how heinous these crimes were. First of all, they were extremely heinous. But if you learn more about the man and the family dynamics, it is no surprise. It's no surprise he went off the rails. I'm about to go, you guys. I've got 2 or 3 places that I'm going to run by this afternoon and ask if they're hiring. I'm trying to beat 5 o'clock traffic because it be making me mad. I hate sitting in traffic. I really do. It's my least favorite thing. I think we can all agree that traffic sucks. It's probably the one thing we can all agree on. Traffic sucks. I'm looking for my phone and I'm going to plug you up. I hope you'll have a good afternoon and a good Thursday. I'm going to run around. I hope they don't mind that I'm barefaced. Like I said, I usually check on places and I'll be like, are you hiring? And then I'll come back the next day with the application with a full face of makeup on. So it's not like I walk in there looking completely rough. I mean, I don't look that bad. I got on a nice dress. My hair is doing hair stuff. Wish me luck, though. Yeah. Wish me luck. And I hope y'all have a good Thursday afternoon. We will talk tomorrow. And, yeah, go watch my cooking video because I'm so proud of that tilapia. It was a 10, like, it was really good. It was, I think, like an 8.5 out of 10. It was really, really good. I'll do that again. Like, I could see myself craving that fish now that I tried it. Like, I've had tilapia before, but I ain't never cooked it myself. And surprisingly, I guess I'm just such a good chef that I didn't even have to Google any directions. I threw that girl in the pan. I cooked her on one side for like 2.5 minutes, flipped her over because you can see the meat cooking. You can see the difference in the cooked meat and the not cooked meat. Flipped her over, cooked her for another 2 to 5 minutes, and boom, she was done. It was delicious. It was delicious. I'll have to do that again. You cannot beat $3, 26 grams of protein per fish, approximately, which is great, and it's healthy. It's low calorie. And it was delicious. And I'll have to do that again. I'm just glad Publix sells like single pieces of meat because I've been looking for somewhere that does that. And they're not expensive. I bought a 1/4 pound of shrimp the other day. Y'all, it was more shrimp than I almost could eat. A 1/4 pound. Just a few bucks. You can get a 1/2 pound for $5. So, you know, it's not a bad deal. It's definitely cheaper than going by McDonald's or Wendy's or Culver's or anywhere like that. Those places are it's going to be $10 for just a burger nowadays, which is crazy. And it's not even good, and it's not even healthy, and it makes you feel like crap. And those 4 canisters of butane that I bought, when did I buy those? Because they are still kicking it, honey. I thought that those 4 cans that I would go through in like a week, or like a can per cooking, those butane actually last a good minute. I still got 3 cans back there of butane. Some of them have been used, but I'm bad about that. Listen, I might seem organized, but when I'm in the middle of cooking and I got cooking on my mind, I get in the zone, and I don't care which can it is. I just want the one closest next to me. You know what I mean? So some of them are used, but some of them are not. But I might go to the beach to film dinner. I don't know what I want, but I need to cook more because I don't think I've eaten out in a while. I've been cooking every meal. I have. I've been cooking every meal and snacking. I haven't eaten any fast food or anything in weeks. So that's good, but it's just as expensive sometimes, you know? Groceries are expensive nowadays. It's ridiculous. You go buy a case of water a few pieces of fruit and some eggs, and boom, there's $20. It's just crazy. I mean, I grew up in a time where $20 got you a few meals for the week, honey. Mama could go to the grocery store with a $20 bill and pick up 3 or 4 meals to feed a family of 4. Call me old-fashioned. I don't care. I can't wait for Trump and Elon Musk and damn Vivek to damn get these grocery prices down, honey. And I don't think that it'll ever go back to what it was. I think that we're stuck stagnant at what we've got. We'll be lucky if things don't continue to inflate. You know what I mean? Gas might go down because they're going to drill. And other things might go down, maybe property insurance or property taxes or whatever. But I do believe that groceries, laundry detergent, household goods, I think that they will stay where they are. Food, specifically. I think that eggs are going to stay, however, what are they, $6, $7 a damn 18-pack now? I have no clue. I can only buy 6 at a time, and that's $2.57 for 6 eggs. So, I don't know. I don't think food costs will ever go back down. I think they're inflated, and these corporations will keep it that way because they're greedy. But y'all be safe out there, and we'll talk in the morning. I hope y'all have a good evening, and thanks for coming to my TED Talk. I had fun. This one's interesting to me. I like the psychological stuff. But y'all be safe and pray for me, because God knows I need it, and I'm praying for y'all. Bye, y'all.